go to make meaningful progress? What reforms are needed to restore confidence in our governance systems? And then finally, vote buying in our politics. Can it ever end? Has political office become a transactional enterprise? What signal does the recent NDC primaries in the Ayawaso East constituency send about the integrity of our democratic processes? Should state funding of political parties now be seriously considered to prevent illicit money, even criminal networks, from infiltrating our political system? These are the questions shaping today's national conversation. And as usual, Current Agenda will dive into these questions, we'll dive into these topics, dive into these discussions, and try together with my panel to make justice to it, to make sure that you at home understand it to the barest minimum, and at the same time share your contribution and your views on the issues as well. As usual, this program is sponsored by Bank of Africa. Bank of Africa says that it's the month of February, a month of love, and whether your month includes a relaxation or a relaxing staycation, a romantic dinner, or ticking off experiences from your bucket list, Bank of Africa says that its Visa card is your perfect payment option. For shopping, for reservations, for getaways, the Visa card from Bank of Africa offers convenience, flexible payment, enhanced security with direct debit. This would make sure that you do not forget to make payments. Choose affordability, choose comfort. Sign up for the Bank of Africa Visa credit card today. Walk into any of their branches and make your inquiries. You can also call them on 0302 429 333, or you can go to their website www.boaghana.com and chat with Fafa. Remember that terms and conditions apply. Bank of Africa, as strong as a group, as close as a partner. The National Petroleum Authority also says that if you suspect that you did not get the right amount of fuel, or if you suspect the quality of fuel issued you is not of standard, or if you experience any bad customer service at any fuel station, there's no need for you to argue or fight. You don't need to stress. You don't need to worry yourself exchanging words. The NPA is here to assist you. You can reach out to them on their call center through the number 0302 550380. I repeat, 0302 550380. Or you can feel free to walk into their head office, which is located at Jowulu on the N1 highway, or any of their regional offices. Go in there, make your complaint or make your inquiry. If you experience any of the issues I mentioned earlier, you have up to 48 hours to report it. Remember that when it comes to NPA, customer care meets excellence. We'll be right back after this break.
That's calabash. When it is fresh like this, it gets to between.
For decades, we have helped businesses connect with their trade partners all over the globe. From Ghana to Burkina Faso, Côte d'Ivoire, Benin, Togo, Senegal, China, Morocco, France, Netherlands, and many other countries. We have made it possible to bring Ghana to the world. We have brought small and medium businesses closer to their customers across the regions in Ghana with our SME support facilities. We have brought relief and smiles to the faces of families with our employee personal loans. With our cutting-edge technology and digital support, we take the burden of complex thinking off you, making life simple. That is who we are, as close as a partner. Bank of Africa. We are indeed the African Bank with the global reach.
The break. This is Current Agenda, your most authoritative socio-political TV program, your Saturday morning companion. So this morning, my reflections, I'm speaking on a topic that is very dear to my heart as a citizen. I think it's what underpins this whole discussion about corruption in the political space, and that's what I believe. And today, I would single out what happened at the Ayawaso East and how it spreads beyond just Ayawaso East, how it spreads beyond just the National Democratic Congress, how it cuts across our political divide. So the Ayawaso East, what happened there exposes the deep monetization of Ghana's politics. The Ayawaso East NDC parliamentary primaries that happened last week came with a lot of controversies, and it sparked heated debate, raised a lot of or generated investigations, and a lot of political theater, a lot of drama. But I would want us to dig deeper. Is this a sudden crisis? Did it just occur? Did we just wake up today to realize this? Or this has been a long-standing culture that we have normalized? Are we seeing a repeat of the same old patterns? Or just new faces? Like I normally put it, is it an issue of the same script being acted, but just that the actors are different? Just like the people playing the role in the movie are different, but it's the same script. TV sets, food items, allegation of cash inducement, and even claims of motorbikes handed out to delegates. These accusations all over were attacked or thrown at one man, narrowing and taking away his win. The National Democratic Congress responded by setting up a committee, while the president revoked the diplomatic post of the High Commissioner to Nigeria, Baba Jamal. The Office of the Special Prosecutor also got involved inviting him for questioning, and granting him some self-recognizance bail. These are actions, and I applaud the National Democratic Congress, I applaud government, I applaud the OSP. But they do not exist in vacuum. What happened did not just drop from space. We need to face reality. Monetization of internal party elections is not new. And Ayawaso East isn't an isolated case. We've had instances where civil society have gone to court and have long warned that this delegate-based primaries is a recipe for cash grabs. We've seen it happen before with cash and gifts changing hands openly. We've had people who have lost elections, gone to the constituency or gone to the district level to retrieve everything that they donated to the people. We've seen people asking people to take money, swear allegiance, swear oaths, pour libation, do a lot of customary rites just because of the gifts. And this has been all over social media. This is not the first. We've seen it happen all over. Everywhere. We see it. Exchange of money, exchange of gifts, people being taken to go sleep in hotels, people being taken to go have whatever it is, scholarship, promises of contracts, all over. The question is, when will this stop? Little has changed fundamentally. Nothing. In fact, I won't even say little, nothing has changed. The problem isn't just that inducement is wrong. It's that our system enables it. Our system enables it. And this is what I mean. Now, there's a delegate base that is expecting aspirants to give them money. Now, let's just take Ayawaso East, since it's the new one in town. Let's assume they have 1,000 delegates. And we hear that allegedly 3,500 was being paid to a delegate. That's 3.5 million to a delegate. Assuming just 2 of the aspirants are the ones who paid, that's 7 million cedis gone to delegates. Now, this person who has spent 7 million to win primaries now needs to campaign, advertise for the main election, the main by-election. That comes with cost. Publicity, renting of logistics, keeping people in hotels, feeding the people who follow him, going to media houses to speak. All this comes with a cost. Spending all this to go to parliament and get paid how much a month? And you think that when this person gets into parliament, he would not look for ways to make back this money, to pay what he has lost and prepare for the next one? And where do you think he will get this money from, or she will get this money from? Certainly from bills that are brought to parliament, from contracts that are coming that needs to be signed. So when we hear of kickbacks, when we see that certain bills that we do not support, certain contract or acts, when we realize that people are getting certain waivers on taxes for their businesses, people are not being made to pay the right amount of taxes, and we are complaining, we are the cause. You and I. We are the ones who keep asking them to come to our funerals every weekend and donate. If an MP who is paid this amount of money, you expect him every weekend to come to a funeral and donate. One Saturday, he can go to about 4 funerals or 5 funerals. He can go to about 3 or 4 naming ceremonies. Churches are inviting him or her to come and sit as the chairperson. Everybody who has a problem is coming. People are lining up at their gates for fees, for food. If you expect this from them, how are they supposed to? They have their own families to take care of. So if they are supposed to take care of all this, at the same time legislate and come again for the next elections, where do you think they'll get the money from? So in looking at the MPs or looking at politicians, we look at ourselves also, we the people. The honorable is what is getting us where we are. We are stuck in a cycle where money talks and it's hard to break free. And so now we do not have people of intellect, people of correct competence being voted into authority by people who can pay. What's driving this culture and how do we change it? The NDC's Functional Executive Committee has decided to stick with Baba Jamal as their candidate for the Ayawaso by-election, despite allegations of vote buying. The committee said that, well, they are legally restrained because of the time between when they are supposed to file for the by-elections, and then there are no provisions in their constitution that would help them or enables them to invalidate the results. Baba Jamal maintains that, hey, he's done nothing wrong. He says that he's not guilty of any electoral malpractice. But there's a bigger question. The larger question and the bigger question remains, do we cancel to send a signal or not cancel to let things lie the way it is? That question I'll leave for you to answer. Whatever action we have taken has a long-standing effect, whether it will prevent a reoccurrence of this or not. At the heart of this matter lies the monetization of Ghana's politics. That's the heart. The delegate system can create a culture of patronage where money buys influence, and that influence is used to secure nominations. It's become a vicious cycle. Aspirants spend big to get elected, and then they are under pressure to recoup whatever they lost during the primaries, to recoup, then to get another one for the next elections, to get what will get their people satisfied, so the people do not see their MP or whoever it is not to be one who is in touch with the grounds. Believe you me, if you are an MP or an assemblyman or an MC or a DC in a community and you do not spend, you should not think of a re-election. It won't happen. It won't happen. This is where governance starts to take a hit and accountability goes out of the window. The deepest pockets are the ones who now eventually get elected. Not what they know in here or what they believe in here, but what they have in their pockets. What's the alternative though? What do you and I think can help? Can we open up the primaries such that it's not just a few who would vote? The difficult question is, if you open up for all, these political parties complain that when it gets to time for people to work for them, you depend on a few. So if you depend on a few to work, why would you want to open up for all to decide? This is a question and something we all need to deliberate about. That if a few are the ones who we fall on as parties, to be the ones to do the hardcore leg work, move house to house, to speak to people about the party. When events are happening, are the ones who come carry plastic chairs, go be putting posters around, climbing billboards and taking that risk. Why would you want to open up for everybody to take a decision just for a few to work? That is the argument, which is a fair argument, which is something we all need to sit around the table to discuss to see which approach would work. We cannot continue to pretend that internal party corruption is separate from national corruption. No, the two are linked. They are linked because the people we will elect are the ones who come into national affairs. Ghana needs to have this conversation. You and I need to have this conversation, devoid of emotions, devoid of what it is that we will lose. And this conversation needs to be had now. Structured state funding may be necessary, with teeth, transparency, accountability, and certain maybe spending caps with real consequences for breaches. It could be a game changer. This is what I think. It does not mean that it is the best. But let's discuss. It's not okay just to sit on social media and scream and shout about corruption, corruption, corruption. We saw our corruption index, 43% out of 100. That's how low we are. In any university, that's a fail. That's a reset. That's actually a disgrace. It's not even a pass, it's a fail. And that's where we are. Since 2020, that's where we are. We've been playing around that figure. And it's not because, you see, I keep saying that if you think that our leaders are corrupt, ask yourself, where do we draw them from? We draw them from all of us. Our leaders are not from space. The politicians are not from Jupiter. They are not from Pluto. They are from Ghana. If you pick a bag that has black balls, or if you pick a bag and you draw black balls out of it, there's a high possibility that the bag is full of black balls. So if you keep bringing out corrupt politicians, what does it say about us? What does it say about you and I? I don't exempt myself. Neither should you. So sitting on social media and just criticizing and making fun and scoring political points out of it does not solve the problem. We need to have a discussion and we need to get serious with it. It's not just forming committees and going to sit and then patting ourselves at the back and we come back and say, oh, we found nothing wrong, and it goes, and then everything. After 1 week, everything ceases and we move on to the next topic. We would not solve corruption with this. Imagine if parties were accountable to the people, not just a select few. Imagine if it's your whole registered base in your constituency, or in your municipality are the ones who are taking a decision on who they want to lead them. Remember when we wanted to vote for MCs and DCs, it was same political elite who boycotted the idea, because that influence will be lost if it's given to the general people. Imagine if criminal sanctions for delegates inducement or voting inducement is implemented. Imagine that we are taking a decision that for this one, we as a country, or the law says that this person, Baba Jamal, or whoever it is, no disrespect to him, cannot contest. What signal will it send? I agree. I'm not saying that we should do something outside the law. I'm not saying that if there's no law that bans or prohibits what happened, we should force it. That's not what I'm saying. What I'm saying is that, can we start having a discussion where this becomes part of us? Where even if it is not law, morally and ethically, we as a people, we say we can't do this. But can we trust even the system to enforce it? If the same people in charge of the system are the ones benefiting from this? Can we? Can we trust the system? What about the potential loopholes that we always look for to be able to dodge the system? Or the number of court cases that people will bring up just to challenge this? Well, we know Dr. Nyahu Tamaklo and I think Professor Frimpong Bwante have submitted a case to court on the delegate system. Let's see how it goes. But without reforming how politics is financed, we will continue to recycle outrage without solving the problem. Ayawaso East is not an isolated scandal. It is a symptom of a deeper structural challenge, a deeper structural weakness in our democratic architecture. If we are serious about protecting the integrity of our elections, both internal and national, then reform cannot be selective and accountability cannot be seasonal. The credibility of our political system depends not on who wins a primary, but on whether the rules of competition are fair, are transparent, and are enforceable. The time for an episodic outrage is over. The screaming, the shouting is over. The time for structural reform is now. I'll be right back after this break.
Connect with their trade partners all over the globe. From Ghana to Burkina Faso, Côte d'Ivoire, Benin, Togo, Senegal, China, Morocco, France, Netherlands, and many other countries. We have made it possible to bring Ghana to the world. We have brought small and medium businesses closer to their customers across the regions in Ghana with our SME support facilities. We have brought relief and smiles to the faces of families with our employee personal loans. With our cutting-edge technology and digital support, we take the burden of complex thinking off you, making life simple. That is who we are, as close as a partner. Bank of Africa, we are indeed Bank of Glory.
The truth of the matter is that we have some liquidity challenges. And as you may be aware, the crop is financed by buyers. That has been the case from the 24-25 season when we crashed out of the syndicated loan scheme. Under the syndicated loan, which went on for about 32 years, COCOBOD will sign contracts for the supply of raw beans and then use these contracts as collateral to take the syndicated loans from banks, foreign banks. And then when this loan hits COCOBOD's account, then COCOBOD will also, out of these funds, give out seed money to the licensed buying companies to buy the cocoa from the farmers on behalf of COCOBOD. However, COCOBOD started having some serious financial challenges in 2022 when COCOBOD was unable to service both the interest and principal of the cocoa bills and therefore asked for a restructuring of the bills. So there was no wonder that in 23-24 for that season, COCOBOD struggled in getting the syndicated loan. At the end of the day, COCOBOD even had to rely on the Ministry of Finance for a $70 million bridge financing to be able to purchase the crop in that same year. And that is a loan that we're expected to pay. So no wonder that was also the season that COCOBOD could not supply 333,767 tons of the crop that it has signed contracts to supply.
The world market price has dropped significantly from the average of 7,200 tons to 4,100 per ton, making Ghana's cocoa beans uncompetitive and creating liquidity challenges. To address this, the Producer Price Review Committee, PPRC, met this afternoon under my chairmanship to assess the challenges facing the sector and review the producer price for the remainder of the 2025-2026 crop year. In order to cushion the farmer, the PPRC has recommended that the farmer be paid 90% of the achieved gross FOB of $4,200 per ton to mitigate the adverse impact on the farmer as a result of the fall in the world market price. As a result of that, the PPRC thereby announces that effective today, Thursday, 12 February 2026, the new producer price for the remainder of the 2025-2026 crop season will now be $41,392 Ghana cedis per ton and 2,587 Ghana cedis per bag. This measure has become necessary to reflect the reality of the world market price of cocoa, ensure the injection of immediate liquidity for expedited payment of farmers, and guarantee the sustainability of our cocoa sector.
There's a new cocoa price that has come out. Yeah, we equally welcome it.
Is a reduction of what?
Exactly. It's per the fall of the world market price that has come to that. This is the first time, or this is not the first time in the history of Ghana cocoa. During Kwame Nkrumah's time, Farmers Council, it also happened, and then they all gave Nkrumah that, okay, we give that our cocoa to you, use it to defray some of the debt. So this is not the first time, but this time we are not defraying the debt, but the price has all come down.
The Finance Ministry is proposing an automatic adjustment formula, so to speak, where when the prices go up, you enjoy. When the prices come down, you also bear the brunt. That's okay?
Oh yeah, that is what we all want to see, and we have heard of it. Yeah, we will be very glad that it will be implemented. That bill should go to Parliament for its approval so that it can be implemented by COCOBOD.
Some reforms at COCOBOD. COCOBOD will now move away from non-core activities. That should be good news for you.
Oh yes, particularly on cocoa rows, but when you go to some cocoa regions, particularly when you come to my region, there are some cocoa rows over the but it has been abandoned, but they have been paid. The contractor has issued a certificate for payment, but the road has not been done. So when COCOBOD get out of this, it will help us.
Yes, the minister was clear. All cocoa that we have mobilized from farmers will be paid with the price that we took it. It's effective today. So it means going forward, from tomorrow going forward, we will also pay the price that has been announced. So it's a matter of explaining to our farmers, for our farmers to understand. Of course, wherever there are challenges, of course, the LBCs, we have about 50,000 purchasing clerks. We encourage them to engage the farmers, explain to the farmers. We also engage with the various cooperatives, farmer leadership, to understand the issues, and then let them see the opportunity, the huge opportunity that has been unraveled or earmarked for the farmer.
And clearly, syndicated loan has been ruled out.
Yes, I mean, we are no more.
Well, welcome back to Current Agenda, your most authoritative Saturday morning companion, your socio-political program for your Saturday to start the day. As mentioned earlier, we'll be discussing the issues into details. We would dive in to figure out how we got here, what really is the problem, and how do we intend to come out of this problem. I mean, with the cocoa issue. This morning we are live on GBC News. Unfortunately, we are not able to transmit on GTV because we are telecasting, or will be telecasting, a live broadcast of the president at the AU Summit. And so we are live on GBC News and also on our social media handles. So feel free to join us on YouTube, on Facebook. Share your comments, share your views. You can also reach us on WhatsApp on 053-110-1315, 053-110-1315. Share your views, put in your questions. We'll check, and then we would also ask our panel to respond if necessary. Well, I have in studio with me Ni Pakpo Samuado. He is the Solicitor Secretary for COCOBOD. He's a known face to this set. This is the first I'm meeting him for this year, so my viewers and myself wish you a happy new year, even though we know that already it has not started too well. But still, we'll manage to wish you a happy new year. Anyway, because we know it will end well for us as a nation. Yes. Okay, so thank you, Ni. We'll be joined by Fifi BOAFO. He's a former head of public affairs for COCOBOD. Then also KWAME OWUSU DANSO, sorry, the president of Accountability Forum will also join us. And BRAKO-POWERS Augustine, a legal practitioner, would also, or a private legal practitioner, I might say, would also join us in this discussion. So I'll start with Ni here, because he currently is at COCOBOD and he currently is the Solicitor Secretary. It's important that I get him to speak and explain the issues to us so that we understand before we start diving into the questions. So Ni, good morning once again.
Good morning.
So my first question is, how did we get here?
Okay, so good morning to our viewers and listeners, and good morning to the national, all those watching us on the national platform. It's a very good question, and it's important to know why we got where we are, and so that we understand why we are where we also are. So the Dr. Randy Abbey administration, first let me reiterate his public apology to farmers for where we find ourselves. It is not a pleasant time, and it's not a pleasant time because we value our farmers. You understand? COCOBOD, at the heart of COCOBOD is the welfare of the farmers. Everything we do is about the Ghanaian farmer. You understand? So if things are not going well in terms of prompt payment, and it clearly will affect them, then we owe them an apology. And so let me use your platform to once again reiterate the apology of my boss for whatever discomfort that they are going through. But as he has reiterated, as the leader of COCOBOD presently, he bears the ultimate responsibility for the current situation, and he has promised and has forged clear directions as to how to get us out of this. But that is not to say that his administration is the cause of this problem. Taking responsibility is as a result of the fact that he is the one in the chair at the moment. But clearly, that does not mean that he is the cause of the problem, or his administration is the cause of the problem. Now, what did the Dr. Randy Abbey administration inherit? You understand? It is important that at the end of 2024, so Dr. Randy Abbey and his administration came in 2025. And let me also put that the executive structure of COCOBOD is a very solid structure. Apart from Dr. Randy Abbey, his deputies, you understand, are people with rich backgrounds in the industry. You understand? The one in charge of agrochemicals, quality and all that, is a veteran of COCOBOD of 40 years plus. The one in charge of operations is also a veteran of COCOBOD. So the key technical advisors who together form the executive team, there are 3 deputy chief executives, you understand, plus the chief executive, are people with very solid backgrounds who are not just novices who have just gotten up and been appointed to handle COCOBOD affairs. So the impression out there that the current administration is an incompetent one is very, very unfounded. There is absolutely no, and when I go through the steps that they have taken, you realize it. So what did we inherit? As at 2024, you understand, COCOBOD had a debt stock of 32.9 billion cedis. So as at 2024, you understand, when the year ending 2024, COCOBOD had a debt stock of debt, not a positive arrears, debt of 32.9 billion cedis. That's almost 33 billion cedis. That's a negative equity of 3.8 billion cedis. That means that the liabilities of COCOBOD far outweighed its assets. So as at 2024, COCOBOD was insolvent, technically. So the administration took over a state institution that was literally insolvent. But in 2026, when the NDC left power, 2016, sorry, the COCOBOD had a positive equity of 1.8 billion. So we inherited a situation of a debt stock of 32.9, almost 33 billion cedis in debt. And yet in 2016, when the COCOBOD were living, COCOBOD had a positive equity of 1.8 billion cedis. These are unchallenged facts. Now, what caused the breakdown of this debt? How did we accumulate this debt? And I'll walk you through some of these. We have the COCOBOD. One of the biggest challenges is what we call the cocoa swollen shoot virus disease, the CCSVD. And it accounts for sometimes almost 40% of the losses that we suffer in terms of how it affects the cocoa trees. COCOBOD went in for a facility of $350 million from the African Development Bank to rehabilitate 156,000 hectares of infected crops. You understand? And we even had an irrigation component of that. As at 2024, okay, we had only rehabilitated 40,000 hectares. And we had spent the money. $350 million. We had spent the money. We went in for a loan. $350 million to rehabilitate diseased cocoa trees. And the target was that we were supposed to cover 156,000 hectares. And I want you to take note of the figure. $350 million loan. At the end of the period, we had only delivered 40,000 hectares, which is just about 25% of the target.
Leaving 116.
And we had touched another 21,000 hectares. We are servicing, and we went, in addition, we took an additional 700 million cedis from our own coffers, COCOBOD coffers. So you go in for a loan of $350 million, and then you overrun it, you completely use it, and you are only able to deliver 40,000 hectares out of the projected 156 that you were supposed to deliver. Then you go into your own coffers for 700 million cedis in addition to that, for you to be able to allegedly complete the project. And after everything you've done, so combination of $350 million, 700 million cedis, what you are able to show for is 40,000 hectares. And every year, COCOBOD pays the African Development Bank $61 million. We are servicing that debt. We pay it twice every year. We are servicing that debt at $61 million. Now, let's go to the cocoa roads. That's a killer. So note this one down. That's the killer. With cocoa roads, we are exposed to the tune of 26 billion cedis on roads, cocoa roads that were awarded. COCOBOD is not a road construction firm. Our mandate has nothing to do with roads. Yet, there was the need at the time, you understand? The idea itself is not a bad idea, that in certain areas where we have cocoa growing areas, we would repair some of the roads, you understand, to be able to facilitate the haulage of the cocoa beans. But my brother, something that is not your core activity, how do you end up awarding contracts to the tune of 26 billion Ghana cedis? This is not part of the 32.9 billion.
Oh, really?
Yes. That's what you must tell. So this 26 billion Ghana cedis, that is the cocoa roads exposure that we currently have on our books. It's not part of the 32.9 billion. The only portion of this that is part of the 32 is certificates that have been completed and brought to our cash office, which is 4.4 billion. So the 32 or 33, let's approximate it to 33 billion figure has as a component 4.4 billion only. But the 26 billion that we are exposed to, road contracts that we have awarded, that we are liable to pay, you understand, is not part of the 32.9 or 33 billion. When Dr. Randiabi came into office, part of the IMF condition, so COCOBOD itself came up with what they call a turnaround plan because they realized that they were in dire straits. And the IMF engaged COCOBOD and said, do a rationalization, because the realization was that this 26 billion was impairing our books and our ability to do anything. So do a rationalization program and show us the ones that you can cancel, because clearly some roads are not even commenced. So do a rationalization program so that you actually know the actual ones that you can or you are obliged to pay, and the ones you can cancel and you know, maybe give to the roads, Ministry of Roads. You do that. We needed only 50 million cedis to do that rationalization. And if we were able to do that rationalization, it would drop our exposure from 26 billion to 4 billion cedis. For 3 years, the previous administration refused to do that road rationalization program. So 3 years.
The cost of the rationalization will be 50 million.
So the cost of the rationalization will be 50 million.
But we reduce the 26 exposure
from 26 million
to 4
million. When the current administration came in, Dr. Randiabi ensured that this rationalization program was done. And so as we speak, the exposure on cocoa roads has come down from 26 billion to about 4 billion cedis. You understand?
Yeah.
Good. Then you have what we call the issue of JUSACs. So we were importing JUSACs in order to what? Deal with our cocoa beans, which is... Now, the problem is that as at 2024, for 3 years running, we had ordered JUSACs, and we had 150,000 bales. Okay?
Bales.
150,000 bales that were uncleared at the ports. Now, if you have 150,000 bales uncleared as at 2024, what is the motivation for awarding further contracts to import more bales when you had 150,000 bales at the port uncleared? In April 2024, we awarded a $48 million contract for the importation of 80,000 bales of JUSACs. And we made it an irrevocable letters of credit. So once the importer produces his documentation,
you must buy.
You must pay. The amount will move from your London accounts, the Ghana International Bank London accounts. So you have 150,000 at the port. You are living in 2024, and you order more. You understand? When you have not cleared what was at the port, and you make it, the cost for that 80,000 was $48 million. What is the basis for such a transaction? When you had enough in stock.
Do you have an idea how many units of sack is in a bill? Do you have a fair idea?
No,
Okay.
I didn't cite that. But that's our problem. See, we then had the famous rollover contracts. Famous rollover contracts. Some will say that rollovers are not, they are not something that is unknown to the cocoa industry. That's true. You understand? But the problem is that, you know how we financed our cocoa since, let's say, 1993, 1994. Initially, since 1947, government has always been the one to finance the purchase of cocoa beans. You understand? Then somewhere 93, early 90s, government realized that it was an unsustainable path. And so we ended up with what we call the syndicated loan, which is basically that you do a crop forecast, you understand, which then you also do a price forecast, We have the research unit of COCOBOD that does that. And when they do that, COCOBOD looks at that and then authorizes CMC to sign contracts, you understand, in respect of the projections that have been done and at a specific cost. So let's say you decide that your crop forecast for a particular year is 600,000 and you project that you would tons, and you project that you are going to sell it at $5,000. You then instruct CMC to sign contracts at that amount for probably about 500 out of the 600. And then based on the contracts, you get buyers to sign in with the contracts, and then you have the contracts becoming the collateral for the syndicated banks to go ahead and finance the purchase of the bees through, and that money comes in, and then the COCOBOD finances the LBCs, pays the LBCs to go in and finance the LBCs to go in and buy the crop. We had run that system for 30-something years until 2023, 2024, when that system collapsed. Every administration before us had inherited that system. So if for nothing at all, at least the current administration should have been able to meet the syndicated loan system. But in 2023, 2024, that system collapsed. Why? One, because we went in for the COCOBOD, went in for the DDEP. You understand? Because we were not able to meet our obligations under the cocoa bills that we had issued. That was the first signal. And so we were shut out of the international markets. Nobody was interested to be part of the consortium. So when we put out a proposal, for the first time, no bank was interested in being part of the consortium anymore. So what did we do? We fell on a new system where the buyers were the ones in charge of financing the purchase of the beans. And so and one of the key issues was that in 2023, 2024, one of the reasons why the buyers were not interested, or the banks were not interested in this particular transaction anymore, was the fact that we had over-projected by 333,767 tons. You understand? We had projected to deliver 600,000 tons to the market. What then happened was that we fell short and we were able to only deliver about 300,000 tons.
But we took the money for the 600.
We took the money for the 600. So then you owed on the obligation to provide the beans that you had not provided. And so there was no appetite to be able to give you that facility. And they knew of our problems because for the first time, the monies hit the accounts of COCOBOD in December, when the crop season had already gone.
Yeah.
You understand? So we had a problem.
Okay.
So this new model was attractive for the buyers because they had locked in our cocoa at a fixed price of about 2,600. And so that one was cheaper to finance. But anybody who looked at it clearly will see that once you complete the supply of the rollover,
the next one will be a problem.
The next one will be a problem because they will have no incentive.
Right.
It was cheaper for them because of prevailing cocoa prices then to allow you to buy and to provide you with the funding. But it could not be a sustainable model for you to be able to say that season after season, this is what we're going to do. And what is interesting is that the Dr. Randy Abe administration did not change we didn't just walk in and say that we had rejected this new system that had been put in place. No. But upon studying it, clearly, the signs were that it was unsustainable. And eventually, it ended up cutting. So our biggest problem has been the debt overhang. You understand? And that has impaired our ability to function the way we're supposed to function. So it cannot be that it is the present administration's failure and incompetence that has led to this particular scenario.
Okay.
You understand?
Okay.
If you want to do a fair analysis of it, you come to the conclusion that whatever was inherited has been the cause of our current
Right.
situation.
Okay.
And then we can talk about what the future.
So we'll
should
talk.
look
We'll
like.
talk about the future right after. I would want to introduce my other panel. I mentioned their names earlier, but as and when they join, I would introduce them. I have in the studio KWAME, my brother and president of Accountability Forum, His Excellency KWAME. I won't add the rest. Good morning.
Good morning.
I hope you're good.
Not bad at all.
Right.
Not bad at all.
And then we also joined online by Fifi BOAFO. He's the former head of the public affairs for COCOBOD. Fifi, good morning.
Good morning.
I hope you're doing well.
I'm well, and I apologize sincerely for my inability to be in the studio.
Right, that's okay. So I'll come to you. I'm sure you've heard everything Nipapo said.
Tell Phoebe that he's a brother. You should go easy on us. You should go easy on us.
Yes.
You should go easy on us.
So
he has been on. I was looking for it to meet you.
So Nipapo has spoken to all the notes that you left him at the office. But I would want to hear from you. I hear the NPP or the former administration or those of you who were formerly responsible for COCOBOD speak to the issues as if the problem did not start today, as being said by Ni. If everything Ni is saying is what the situation was, then really your administration at COCOBOD, and by extension your government, does not have any moral authority to be crying as if you handed over a very surviving and sustainable and boisterous COCOBOD to the Randy Abbey administration.
Well, thank you very much for the opportunity, and let me say good morning to panelists in the studio, and once again apologize for my inability to be there in person. And tell me I have accepted that I'll be very gentle on them. However, let me state that all that Ni has done, and indeed Ni is speaking to a script, what they have done is to move away from the real issue. Let us engage in a different conversation in order to achieve a certain result. But I will plead that we focus and stay focused on the real issues at hand. What is the problem today? The problem is that for 4 months or 3 to 4 months, cocoa farmers who have sold their cocoa have not been paid. And government has a responsibility to pay these cocoa farmers. And rightfully, these cocoa farmers have been asking that they get paid. What then happens is that government then decides to offer explanation as to why they have not been paid instead of paying the cocoa farmers. And what explanation are they offering? I'm sure we've all listened to Ni talk about them. Unfortunately, that is not the case. I'll address the issues Ni raised. However, I wish to stay on focus because all this conversation is about the cocoa farmer who has not been paid for over 3 months after supplying cocoa. And it is instructive to note that it happened at a time where we're entering Christmas. It happened at a time where we were in Christmas. And it happened at a time where farmers were sending their awards to school and they have not been paid. All that government does is to blame predecessors instead of finding solutions to the problem we face. Why are we here? We are here because over the years, COCOBOD at the time of announcing cocoa producer price would undertake forward sale of cocoa in order to guarantee a price for the cocoa farmer and then sell the remaining amount of cocoa in stocks and be able to pay the farmer on time. Unfortunately, this is not what happened when the Randy Abbey, to quote me, when the Randy Abbey administration took over. They decided to opt for a different approach in terms of cocoa trading. And that approach, unfortunately, is what has landed us in this mess we find ourselves in, where for the first time in our history, cocoa farmers' guaranteed price has been reduced for over 1,000 Ghana cedis a bag. It has never happened in our history. That bad policy they are implementing today by opting against doing forward sales to give them visibility and clarity in determining cocoa price. This is what has landed us in a situation where for 4 months, cocoa farmers have not been paid. I indicated that every year, COCOBOD would do forward sales. And forward sales basically means that before the start of the cocoa season, COCOBOD will have the opportunity to go to the markets, engage buyers and say that, well, we estimate to get 800,000 metric tons, 600, or whatever the projection is, and we sign contract with the buyers. When we sign a contract with the buyers, it gives us an opportunity to be able to properly project the market that by the time where we will sell the cocoa to you, this is how much we will realize. And based on that, we take into consideration discount, we take into consideration rollover contract, we take into consideration industry cost. Then we fix the cocoa producer price. So it has never happened that at the time of determining the producer price for the cocoa, we do not know how much we are realizing. Unfortunately, based on what COCOBOD has said, based on what the finance minister said, it is obvious to us that at the time government fixed the FOB price, achieved FOB price, or the weighted average of 7,200, government was not sure that it was going to realize that amount. And that's worrying. You know, when you go to COCOBOD, it's an institution that has a wealth of knowledge, very knowledgeable people, very experienced people, well-trained people who have been on this job for many years, and they will be able to guide you on these decisions. So if it happens today that COCOBOD is telling us that yes, even though they projected that they were going to achieve an FOB price of 7,200, no, they are now working with FOB price of 4,100. The question you ask yourself is that what happened to the wealth of knowledge at COCOBOD? Were they ignored? Did they fail to meet at the sales executive committee where prizes or when authority is given to the traders to go and trade? Is that why we are here? You know, we at the time of announcing the producer price, the world market price was over $10,000. It was actually around 12,000. The highest we have seen was over 13,000 US dollars for a ton of cocoa. You ask yourself, why did we not sell when the world market price was around 13,000, around 12,000, around 11,000? I agree that there was a rollover contract. So it would definitely, if you sell even at 12,000, it will draw the figure down. So if government says it's 7,200, we may go with it. I agree that not all cocoa is sold at the world market price because you also have the light crop beans, which is discounted to about 20%. So it will bring it down to 7,200. So we all accepted it when government said, well, the weighted average will be 7,200. But the question we must ask ourselves today is why did the government fail to sell despite the fact that the price was that high, and only to sit down, wait for the price to drop to this level and let the poor farmer suffer for it? The decision that was made, the only set of people who are going to suffer is the cocoa farmer. Is the finance minister, who is the chairman of the producer price review committee, is he going to suffer for what has happened? The answer obviously is no. The deputy chief executive in charge of operations, who is the technical advisor to the producer price review committee, who was supposed to guide the process, is he going to suffer any salary cuts? I'm sure we all did not hear that. The chief executive of COCOBOD, who chairs the sales executive committee that had the mandate to instruct cocoa marketing company to sell when the price was high, is he going to suffer any price cuts, salary cuts? The answer, your guess is as good as mine. So the question is, why must the poor cocoa farmer, who has dutifully worked on the farm, delivered the cocoa to the license buying company, suffer for this? It is unfair, it is not right, and the decision to rather blame this on the former administration, I believe it is not right. Bako talked about, and forgive me for making reference to you. You are in the studio, that's why I'm doing this to you. But what COCOBOD has said throughout this conversation is to say that there was debt. But what Ni did not tell you is that the current arrangement you have has nothing to do with your debts or any other liability you have. The buyer gives you part of the money, and then you use it to buy the cocoa. And when you deliver the cocoa, the remaining amount of money is given to you. So it is actually insulated from any other liabilities of the board. So if they say that it is because of the debt, that is why they are unable to pay the farmer, that is a fallacy. Now on the bit about the debt. In fact, what it is in the document COCOBOD has been referring to is actually COCOBOD liability exposure, not debt. But almost everyone says debt, and that's what they talk about. But as they talk about the liability exposure, what they have also not said to you is that in 2024, 2025, the season they inherited and said, we have bought jute sacks, we have bought fungicides, we have bought all other supplies for the cocoa season, for which reason we have debt. They did not tell you that COCOBOD had projected a revenue of $3.2 billion. $3.2 billion. At the end of that season, if you check the Bank of Ghana reports that came out about our export, it said COCOBOD raised $3.9 billion from the world markets in terms of cocoa sales. The $3.9 billion, we were working with $3.2 billion. 3.9 million, the $700 million that came in extra. What does it do to COCOBOD finances? But all that they talk to you, me and you about, is COCOBOD is in debt and COCOBOD is in debt. And they are leaving the real issues of their failure to sell when the world market price was high in order to guarantee the cocoa farmer the price. They talk about cocoa roads. I am happy that today, at least the Director Legal is telling the public that indeed Cocoa Road's liability and COCOBOD is $4 billion, not $26 billion. Because they've been going on and on about $26 billion, when indeed under the MPP administration, Cabinet met, took a decision to rationalize these roads. That has been done, and indeed it has brought down the cost. But COCOBOD is still going around telling everybody that Cocoa road exposure is $6 billion. How is that possible when indeed it has been rationalized? So it is good that at least someone has admitted that it is not the figure that is there. He also talked about the cocoa rehabilitation program and the money that was sourced from the African Development Bank. Indeed, COCOBOD sourced money from African Development Bank.
Hello, Viv.
And that
Hello,
money
Vivi,
that
can
was
you hear me?
sourced from, yes.
Okay, so
Yeah,
on the cocoa roads, I think
yes.
just for education and clarification, what I heard Ni say was that what was handed over to their administration by your administration was 26 billion in cocoa roads. There was supposed to be some rationalization that was supposed to be done. Your party or your government was advised to do some rationalization by the IMF to bring the price down. Certain roads that had not started, some that had not commenced, some that probably you could do away with, you should do that. It would have cost you 50 million to do the rationalization. It was not done. It was their administration which came, did the rationalization, and brought the figure down to 4 billion. So the 4 billion is not to say that now the cocoa roads is 4 billion. He's saying that it was, if they had not done a rationalization, it would have been 26. So just that clarity. So you can go on.
Well, it's a non-issue. I realized he was prompting for this. But all I'm saying is that there was a process. This process started. Indeed, Cabinet met on this issue, looked at it, and gave instructions for this to be done. That Cabinet committee was chaired by Honorable Dangote. I am not in any way expecting to hear from Solicitor, COCOBOD Solicitor General or the Director Legal that, well, because the NDC took over a process that had been started, so it therefore means that nothing has been done. I am sure all the assets that were taken, they are working with them. So they should not say that because they continued the process that had already been started, it therefore means that nothing has been done. I am only making the point that the process started to ensure that that exposure is reduced, and that has been done, and we must work with the new figure and not continue making reference to the 26 billion they've been talking about. They talk about rehabilitation. I must admit that indeed NI has been honest about the conversation, unlike some other people and how they've engaged in conversations on this cocoa issue. They all talk about the fact that, well, the money that was COCOBOD sourced from the African Development Bank was only used to rehabilitate 40,000 metric tons. NI admits that there was some 30,000 which has not been done, and we must make the point clear. And this is what happened. Yes, indeed, COCOBOD sourced for the money, and the money was to rehabilitate some number of CSSBD affected farms. But when the process started, we realized that because of bad weather and other conditions, some of the seedlings died, and we had to go back and then rehabilitate that as well. So the initially projected hectare, we could not cover that. But it is also not true that it is only 40,000 that was rehabilitated. Indeed, what was rehabilitated was 70,000, except that at the time of leaving office, 40,000 had been completed and ready for handing over to the cocoa farmer. So if the remaining is not ready for handing over, it does not mean that it has not been rehabilitated. But it is instructive to point out, and this one, I'm pointing it out to me because he is the Director Legal, and every contract signed at COCOBOD, I know he will go through it before it is signed. What the suggestion has been is that because the previous administration did not achieve the over 160,000 hectares, it therefore means that somebody has done something wrong. But the benefit of knowledge with the first phase of the rehabilitation was that the initial projection in terms of how much we're supposed to spend on the rehabilitation, the scientists who did the calculation did not get it right because there were other responsibilities we had to take care of. So, for example, 2 years, the farm is not ready. You hand it over to the farmer, you must spend some money. COCOBOD also sourced, I think, $100 million from the World Bank. That World Bank contract, how much the current administration is spending on each hectare is more than what was spent by the MPP administration under the Africa Development Bank facility on each hectare. So if they say that the MPP misapplied funds by spending that amount on the AFDB, what are they doing at this moment?
Okay, so
they are spending more.
Vivi, I'll ask him that question for you. But let's stay on this AFDB. Let's stay on this AFDB issue. So NI says, and which you've somehow admitted to, that there was 350 million USD. That was initially taken from the AFDB. The intention was to do somewhere about 156 hectares. You say that almost 70 hectares were touched, 40 were completed, and some 30 probably not completed. So that's technically even less than 50% of the work that was done. but all 350 million USD was utilized. Nee says that in addition to that, I'll give you an opportunity. Nee says that in addition to that, you drew from the COCOBOD coffers an additional 700 million. So what it means is that 350 million USD, if you're using the exchange rate at the time, that would be about 47 billion Ghana cedis, plus some 700 million, was used for 50% of what was supposed to be done. That's basically, assuming we are talking about your completed and then in process.
Well, Nee is getting the sequence wrong. So the 700 million he talked about, it was actually what COCOBOD started the program with before we sourced the African Development Bank facility. So that had been done. And then we sourced the African Development Bank facility to realizing that, okay, this can be done. Then we decided to take on other affected farms. So that is the point. Another thing I wish to draw attention to is the fact that a lot changed when we started the process. So, for example, we decided to compensate the farmers who owned the cocoa farms we're going to rehabilitate, because that was the motivation for them to allow us to rehabilitate the farms. They were reluctant, and if we did not treat these farms, the disease was going to spread faster, and we're going to lose our entire cocoa industry. So there was a need for us to motivate them. We also realized during this process that the landowners, most of these farmers are tenant farmers. They had moved from different parts of the country to go and farm. The moment you cut the farm, the agreement between the landowner and the cocoa farmer is that you have your cocoa farm on my land, I take a percentage out of it. The moment you cut the farm owner says, well, then I take back my land. COCOBOD has spent already on that. So we have to go into another negotiation with the landowners to compensate them in order for them to allow this to happen. So a lot happened within this period, and it was a lesson for us. I made mention of the World Bank facility and what the current administration is doing. I am not in any way suggesting that they have misapplied funds, but they are only acting based on the experience of the AFDB and the challenges we had. So they then priced it right. But the persons who seek to play mischief with it, that because you took the money and you did not deliver the same amount, it therefore means that you've misapplied the funds or you've done something wrong. They are spending more on hectare comparatively. So then the same accusation that is directed at the MPP administration, they must then answer why they decided to spend more than what was spent under the African Development Bank facility. Nee talked about the rollover contracts. The rollover contracts, let us get it clear. It is not a novelty. It is not something that is new to cocoa industry. It has been there over the years. It is very interesting that the people who talk on behalf of government about this issue only says, oh, well, in 2016, 2017, there was a rollover contract of 68,000, and this time around we got 330,000. It will interest you to know that in 2015, 2016, there was a rollover contract of over 190,000. Over 190,000. And in 2016, 17, there was a rollover contract of over 68,000. Even though, and let me state this before I get to the point, COCOBOD's year runs differently from the annual year we have. We start January and end in December. For COCOBOD, the cocoa calendar starts in October and ends in September. So by September, when the cocoa season had ended, yes, we had a rollover contract of about 330,000. But I wish to point out that when Dr. Randy Abbey took over as chief executive of COCOBOD in January, these contracts had been serviced to the tune, I think the remaining was about 160,000. The remaining contract was about 160,000. But he's not talking about what he meant. He's only talking about the fact that at the end of the cocoa season, we had 330,000. Those who talk about the fact that, well, because we had that number of contracts, it adds to the debt of COCOBOD. Clearly, they got their briefings wrong. Because every year, at the time of determining the guaranteed price for the cocoa farmer at the Producer Price Review Committee, you take into consideration all your rollover contract, and it forms part of your price determination. And that is the more reason why some of us understood the point that even though the world market price was about 12,000, government decision to peg the weighted average at 7,200 indeed are taking on the rollover contract. But they still come back to you and say that because there was rollover contract, it therefore means that something wrong has been done. It makes COCOBOD insolvent and all sort of descriptions. I will plead. I've said this before. I heard the chief executive responding to that, but I will still plead that some words, some descriptions, and how the new managers of COCOBOD talk about the cocoa industry, they must be mindful. Because the chief executive says, well, if people take, journalists take cameras to the farmers, for farmers to see that cocoa supply has not been paid for, does not affect the price. What about he's coming out to say that cocoa board has issues, is affecting the price? There's clearly difference between what a journalist talking to a cocoa farmer at a near morty. The effect is way, way less than what the chief executive of Ghana Cocoa Board, the second highest producer of cocoa in the world, his words are way heavier, and the value on it is way heavier. So please, if you talk down the industry, and this is an industry you are signing contracts with buyers, you are dealing with finance houses, and day in, day out, you talk down the industry, it has an implications on the work you do. Well, NI has not had experience of going through the syndication process, but the days of syndication, I can tell you that by the time you are done with one syndication, the number of queries you have to respond to, from press cuts, from things that have been said by the chief executive and things that have been said by a minority, majority, and government and the political people, you have to respond to every single one of them before the syndication is given. So things they say have implications. I don't work for COCOBOD, and I do not intend going back to COCOBOD. But I still think that in the interest of Ghana's cocoa industry, we must be careful the sort of things we say, especially people who have a responsibility to work for COCOBOD and protect the interests of COCOBOD. They must not be the people to run down the cocoa industry.
It's interesting that you're saying that you don't want to go back to COCOBOD. I don't know whether even if you ask to go back as a CEO, whether you still say you don't want to go. Or if you see
are you considering me for COCOBOD?
Right, Fifi, thank you very much. I'll come back to you with some follow-up questions.
Especially, I indicated that I have a class program, but if there's anything, I could probably join you online because I have to move on. But I am happy for the opportunity.
So since I have you here, then let me just ask you that follow-up question because I might not have you at the time. Being one who has seen both the syndicated loan financing approach and the off-taker financing approach, you've tested both models. What I want to find out is first, what caused us to stop the syndicated, and comparing the two, which one would you say would be the best for us going forward?
Well, I think government has already indicated that it's not going with any of these approach. And then he has a different approach in terms of financing for the cocoa. Given the opportunity, I think we can spend some time to discuss that into detail. But let me state that, one, this whole narrative that we're shut down on the syndication market, and that is why we did not go for syndication for 2024, 2025, is not true. This document I have here, in fact, COCOBOD people are pushing us to the extent that if you are not careful, you may have to put out a lot of confidential information. And like I said, I am very much restrained in terms of what we share to the public because COCOBOD is a very sensitive organization and we must not do that. What I have on my phone here, which I'm showing you, is a term sheet from the banks that came for the 2024-2025 cocoa season. And the term sheet, let me read the final part of the term sheet we received. And it says that the proposal is subject to a number of conditions, including closing of the facility by the end of September 2024 at the latest. Indeed, I've shown a document that says that COCOBOD satisfied all conditions. We paid the facility for 2024. Management, the board and management took this decision that looking at some of the terms, because at a point they were asking that they will have to bring an officer to come and sit at a warehouse to see how we are delivering cocoa, and that will be at a cost to COCOBOD, among other things. And we felt that, well, for 32 years, we've been doing syndication, paying huge interest to these banks. But then, apart from the fact that they were getting our money, they felt that we are at their beck and call, and then we had to accept anything they threw at us. So let us consider other options. Let me state that 2024-2025, the financial model we used did not experience any problem, and we did not pay any interest. And the interest, the least we are talking about is about $54 million. We did not pay any interest, and it worked perfectly. Yes, the MPP started running that arrangement. Dr. Abe and his team took over from January to September, and they used the same arrangement. It worked perfectly without any problem. We did not hear of farmers complaining of non-payment or any of the challenges we're experiencing today, or reducing even the farmers' farm gate price. It never happened. So why are we here today? We are here today because government failed to sell at the right price, despite fixing the FOB price at 7,200, and now they have to blame it on other things. The system worked, but it did not work this time around because of how we decided to sell, and not because the system was not good. However, the finance minister announced that they will be looking at a different arrangement, bonds. Let me say that it is not entirely new.
Fifi, before you come to the bonds. Before you come to the bonds, I still want us to stay a bit on the syndicated. At least, based on my professional experience, I understand a bit of term sheets. Now, if you talk about term sheets, you are basically talking about a bank giving you its terms and conditions under which it decides to want to lend to you. One of the considerations a bank would take to give you a term sheet is to look at your credit worthiness. If it's putting in very keen or very strong measures, then it means that you have demonstrated that you are not credit worthy. And so if you're saying that when you, because what you read to us, you just read the conclusion. You did not read other things in there. So,
it's a very lengthy one, and I
yes,
don't have.
I appreciate.
Don't have the time
I appreciate. Yes, I know how term sheets can look like. But if one of the conditions you made was that they would want to have somebody physically present in your warehouse, then it gives an indication that the bank is suspecting some dealings in the past and wants to protect itself from it. So if your term sheet has these conditions in there, then you only suggest, or one of the suggestions is that the financial institution you are dealing with suspect or has reason to believe that in earlier dealings you had not been fair, and so wants to protect its interests.
Well, let me state that it is not entirely what it was. And I had the opportunity of sitting in some of these meetings, and I think that there was some level of, I think the banks at the point were taking us for granted in terms of this whole facility. So there are people who suggested that, well, they believe that every year you come to them. So, and no matter the terms they offer to you, you take it because you need the money to go and buy the cocoa. So you go with it. So it is not because we have done something grievously bad, and that is the reason why we're seeing those terms. Another thing I would like to state, and I've heard it when we discussed this topic, that, well, because of the finances of COCOBOD, just like the Director Legal talked about the fact that because we had done, we had restructured a facility with the Bank of Ghana, so that was the issue. The primary thing this syndicate syndicating banks look at when COCOBOD sign a syndication is the COCO contract, because it is the only guarantee COCOBOD provides for the signing of the syndication. So usually we provide 100% in a situation whereby they have further questions. They may say that, okay, instead of providing 110% of the value of the facility you are signing, give us a contract of about 115% the value of that. So all that COCOBOD is supposed to do is to ensure that COCOBOD has been able to secure contracts that gives you the value beyond the facility you are signing with the bank. So, your administration is not stopped from exploring the syndication facility, except that considering where you have taken us to, where today you have not even sold the 2025-2026 crop. I'm wondering when you finish selling that crop and be able to forward sell to procure a facility like the syndication. I think that whatever is happening between COCOBOD, CMC, and the marketing, it must be seriously looked at, such that we do not have this situation where we are even struggling to sell and selling the cocoa at the right price. So yes, with the new arrangement, we have already, we've done, the NDC administration in the past did it, the MPP took over and did it, and we raised cocoa bills. The cocoa bonds they are talking about, I know that the previous board chaired by Honorable Peter McMenu also looked at the same arrangement which they are talking about. I know they were considering taking monies from pension funds, among other things. This whole arrangement the finance minister announced, it lacks details. So we do not know exactly what is in these arrangements, whether it is what I know the previous board considered. Is it a new thing? What has been added or what has been taken out of it? I think when the finance minister make it available, it will give us the opportunity to better assess it and know as to whether it is the right way to go or we may have to consider different options.
I agree with you. I actually was going to ask you about the reforms, especially, and I'll ask you the same question. Knowing what has happened with bonds recently, the DDP, EP, and then Ghanaians' appetite for bonds.
But farmers have gotten their own haircuts too.
Okay,
they shave their body.
I know you would not have. You didn't miss this opportunity to throw in this one. I knew very well.
They've shaved them. This one is not bad bush. I wonder whether it's Sakura or what.
But I mean, Barry, whilst we are waiting for the finance minister or whoever it is to come with the paper on what they intend to do, what do you think? Do you think if a bond or they allow us to raise bonds in our local market, we'll be able to raise bond of about $2 billion to finance the next produce buying? You think we have the capacity to do that as a people?
I think it is possible, because if you look at the pension funds, I think the study that was done, if I remember correctly, I think it has the capacity to be able to do that. So yes, it is, that opportunity is there. But the question is, what will be the interest on that facility? We know the current arrangement does not impose that responsibility or that cost of interest, unlike the syndication. But it will largely depend on the terms this whole bond arrangement will present to us.
What would you also think about exploring equity financing as one of the measures? Can you hear me?
Equity financing, yeah, I can hear you. It is worth considering, but then, like I said, we can only do this when we have
the details.
The details of it.
Right, that's fair.
The details would justify as to whether or not is it true or not.
Okay. Okay, Fifi, thank you very much for your time this morning. Like you said, you have a clashing program, but as and when we need
once again, I am sorry I couldn't make it in person.
Appreciated. So as and when we need your input, we would definitely reach out to you so we can get you back to clarify. I'm coming back in studio to Ni. Ni will do a bit of...
and tell Ni, as I take my leave.
So definitely Ni would speak to some of the issues, and then I will go into the reform, and then Kwame would also speak to the issue. Right. So Fifi, thank you very much for the time this morning. Right. So Ni,
yes.
Maybe some 5 minutes to respond, and then now we go into the reforms.
I think that Fifi wants to set his own question and then answer it. How is it possible that we have come into office and a problem has occurred some months down the line, and we are saying that we are not the immediate cause of the problem, and that it has roots before we came into office, and we are not allowed to examine the roots? We should be able to tell the Ghanaian people what we inherited. And he has not denied some of the basic issues that I put to him. That, number one, the company that we inherited was insolvent. That is the truth. You left behind a company with a debt stock of 32.9 billion. Negative equity of what? 3.8 billion. Whilst you inherited in 2016 a company with a positive equity of 1.8 billion cedis. That is your record. And that has not been denied. Now, the causes of that, when we break it down, you understand. This road exposure thing, that was one of the things that you don't understand. You have a problem as a company. You have signed contracts for the construction of roads to the tune of 26 billion cedis. That is outside the 33 billion that you already owe. And what is even more alarming about this, and I'm happy that when we come to the issues of the fact that the government has asked for concurrent criminal and forensic audits of this, because what was, I'll say you the word crazy. What is sad about this is that this 26 billion cedis, there was no budgetary allocation in respect of these roads.
Really?
Yes. That is what makes it, and most of them were in dollars. You are number one, COCOBOD is not a road construction company. We are not even the Ministry of Roads. Our exposure is more than the budget of the Ministry of Roads. Do you understand? And the allocation for roads contracts comes from the annual PPRC formula that we deal with every year when it comes to the price of that is set by the PPRC. In that, you will find allocation for some of these things. For 2 of the years that the most awards were made, there was no allocation. And by the structure of what they have done, some of it was going to be payable within 45 years if you do the calculation. We will not be able to pay this amount until in 45 years. Yet, the contract you sign oblige COCOBOD to pay within 90 days upon the delivery of the certificate. When you have no budget allocation for it, how do you in management do this? You award contracts to the tune of 26 billion Ghana cedis, which is outside your core mandate. You understand? And you were asked, you yourself come up with a solution that, we will rationalize this thing. And if you rationalize it, you bring it down from 26 million to about 4 to 6 million cedis. All you had to spend was 50 million cedis to do the report. It took the Dr. Aradi administration to come and do this particular exercise and bring down the debt. You had 3 years to do this. And so 26 billion was hanging in your books. Then you come to the jute sacks. You see, what I'm compiling on this is that these are management decisions that contributed to the state of COCOBOD. Now, when you come to the issue of the rollover contracts, what my friend Fifi BOAFO kept evading was the fact that none of the banks were signing on, and he talked about terms that they were not comfortable with. That is not accurate, because the banks were concerned about the fact that you were not able to deliver over 300,000 tons of cocoa beans when you had signed contracts to deliver same. Now, on the average, when the forecast is done, if you are off maybe 10, 15%. Yeah. This is the first time in the 79-year history of COCOBOD that we're off almost by 50%. What happened? It literally means that you had signed contracts taking money when you knew that you were not going to be able to deliver those contracts. And you had locked us in at a certain price, which meant that even when the prices went up to $12,000 and even came down to the average of $9,000, we were using high-price cocoa to service a low value, what do you call it, contract. So the farmer could not benefit. So when we are accused of not doing forward sales and when the price went up, we didn't, you had locked us down. So when you do the weighted average of the price, you are not able to do anything about it because you are using high-value cocoa to pay debt. It got to a point, for every bag, we were losing about $500. You are just accumulating debt. So we came into a system where you had completely destroyed the syndicated loan system. Every administration always comes to meet the syndicated system. That if you don't leave us with the ability to do forward sales, how do you then accuse us of not doing forward sales? When you had also forgotten about the rollover contracts which you had left behind. So there can be no moral justification to accuse the present administration of being the cause of this problem. Rather, the present administration should be congratulated for managing how Dr. Radiabe and his team have managed COCOBOD from last year to this year. Is a miracle. Because the kind of system we came to meet, you could foretell that whatever happened, this buyer system was unsustainable. Clearly, you were at the mercy of the buyer. And the buyer felt it was advantageous to him because if you had contracts at 2.6 and you were having on the average $9,000 as the market price, obviously they will pay whatever has to be done to be able to get. But once they satisfy, once you finish supplying these rollover contract bids, they will have no incentive to continue to be the off-takers again. They won't do it. They won't do it. It's just unfortunate that by the period that we had projected to be able to finish this, we had completed the purchase by almost, what was left to be mobbed up was just about 50 to 60,000. Then this, unfortunately, because then the buyers had moved because of the unattractive nature of our pricing. You understand? And then the ministry had to step in with this immediate. But the good news from what the government has announced, and I'm sure we'll get to that.
I'll get KWAME to speak to the issue, then we come to the good news.
That is, it has also allowed us to confront a fundamental problem. You understand? Which is that, look, we need a new strategy for the Ghana cocoa industry. And credit again to Dr. Abe, he was the one who came to meet a cocoa suggestion that, yes, we needed a new COCOBOD bill to deal with the fact that the 1984 law was no longer active. But that contract had been signed and the bill was, the contractor had been engaged, the consultant had been engaged, but nothing was happening with the bill. He gave a deadline, and within 3 months, myself and my team had put together the bill. And that bill is one of the most progressive-looking bills that we have ever had in respect of a particular industry. That is to his credit. So the person that has come to stabilize the ship and has shown leadership in trying to navigate very difficult waters cannot be the one to be blamed for being the cause of whatever it is that has happened over the past. It is really unfair. You understand? When you hear past administration officials trying to say that they have left a mess, somebody is cleaning it up, and yet he is the cause of the mess. It is very, very unfair.
I understand. So KWAME, let me, forgive me. I know you've become, in fact, you've been very passive because I've allowed the COCOBOD people to speak because I believe they would speak what really is the issues before and now. But you being the Ghanaian Accountability Forum, what's your whole take on this cocoa issue?
Okay, well, thank you very much. Let me say a special good morning to you and to our viewers and to Ni. Indeed, I've been listening to the agreements and disagreements between me and Fifi. And it's quite interesting to listen to industry players on matters of national importance. Indeed, for some of these conversations, I think we have to always look at it from the perspective of being a Ghanaian and not on the lines of partisanship, because in this particular boat that we are all in, it is not one that ought to be looked at from the lenses of, partisanship, and that if the boat sinks, all of us will sink. I'm saying this because, as a people, we have 4 legs that we stand on, and that is by way of exports. And so, in Ghana, you know that we export cocoa, we export oil, we export gold, and we export timber. Those are the 4 key pillars or drivers of the Ghanaian economy. And over the period, with the exception of, I believe, 2020 or 2019, 2020, 2021, thereabouts, when the demand for cocoa dropped, cocoa has always been the backbone of our Ghanaian economy. And so everything that has to do with cocoa is of prime relevance and ought to be discussed dispassionately. Right. I blame the current CEO for all the things that are happening. Why am I saying this? I'm saying this because evidence available to the current CEO suggests that the previous administration that managed the affairs of COCOBOD really mismanaged the affairs of COCOBOD. And that COCOBOD as an institution has sunk, if I should say so. Because they are neck deep in debt, unsustainable debts, that they by reason of the debts are unable to function effectively as a board which mandate is to superintend over the affairs of cocoa. It is only recently that I was listening to, I was watching a sister TV station, that all of these revelations came to my attention. So the question then becomes, what was Randy and his team doing when he got the opportunity to manage the place? Why did he not bring all of these things out? Because today, I am sure that he was being charitable or he was trying to find a way around to navigate that boat ashore. But the very people that he was trying to save by independently navigating the COCOBOD ship ashore are the people who are now coming after him. Yes. Because if you inherited a positive equity of 1.8 billion, and in 2024, COCOBOD inherited a negative equity of about 3.8 billion. 32.8 billion. Well, technically 33 billion. Then how come? No, let me even be charitable, so let me stay on the 33 billion.
I wrote 136.
KOJO, why in God's name
Then AFDB
did Randy and his team not put out this information?
Oh, he did. He did in news media interactions. He has done that.
When?
So since he came, he's done a number of interviews.
Well, I have not seen it.
Oh, he's put it out.
Oh, please.
Oh, he's put it out.
I have not seen it.
Oh, you have not.
KOJO, did you ever see it?
Well, I mean, I'm also hearing all of these things.
For the first time. And the first time I heard it was, I don't want to mention the TV station's name, but I was watching and following events.
I can assure you that he has
and then your PR team is not doing a good job. I'll be very honest with you. No, please. You see, I am not here to attack your institution. No, I'm actually telling you what you didn't do right. Because all of these things that are happening, you see, that's why I asked you to ask the gentleman a question on the abrogation of the syndicated, transactions. He couldn't answer. He could not answer. So it is evident that all of these things that we are experiencing is by reason of the mismanagement of the previous administration. That is why we are here. But in any event, KOJO, what determines FOB price? Maybe me will have to answer that. But I do know that there are a number of factors that determine FOB price.
The current market value.
So the market value. So even at that point, if the world cocoa price is, let's say, 7,200, and at the time you are loading the beans onto the ship, it drops to $4,200. That is what will be used to determine the
among other money.
The price at, at the time.
But the killer is that when it was up, then you had rollover contracts.
Absolutely, that is what I'm saying.
We lost over $1 billion as a result of that. That $1 billion could have been used to cushion our farmers now. And then you have the girl to come back and accuse us of being the ones to cause the problem.
Okay.
Imagine.
So KOJO,
I know.
So that is what it is. You cannot discount the importance of currency fluctuations in these conversations. And I don't know whether Ni has touched on that. You cannot discount it.
It's a factor.
It's not just a factor, it's an important factor.
Yes.
Because if at the time...
We sell in dollars.
Absolutely. If at the time,
that's a factor.
dollar was hovering around 12 to 15 Ghana cedis.
That's why there's a need to a fundamental shift.
That is the problem.
We are financing our... That's what the government has.
You get the point.
So I mean that's one of the reforms being discussed.
The
local, the inflation and all those things taken into consideration, the automatic adjustment and all that.
Yes.
Consider this.
Yes. So these are all important factors. But for me, one thing is clear. You see, this politicization of this matter, and when I was coming this morning, I had to tune off. I was listening to a radio station and I had to just tune off. Because the argument being advanced was so lame and backward. Because we are looking at how we can all together rally support behind COCOBOD in order that our farmers will be protected. That's the most important thing.
Yes.
And which is why I believe Randiabe and his team refused to put out the fact, because they wanted to get a national, discourse going on so that we can all together help build a COCOBOD that will be able to take care of the farmers.
I'll ask my technical team also to start showing on the screen the reforms. So we'll look at it, because in as much as we are talking about the problems, forward thinking is important. But
yes, but obviously, I mean, so the farmers are very important. And also, if you're looking at the country where about now 60% of our farmlands have been taken over by illegal miners, and you're just looking, I don't know the exact figures, but I'm looking at just about maybe 40% of our farmlands now being used for cocoa cultivation. Then it is telling that we need to ensure that we invest heavily in that sector in order that we'll be able to realize the produce that we need for a corresponding foreign exchange. So the issues is known to all of us. The solution is what we need. And whatever solution that we need must be one that cannot be easily changed or cannot be easily manipulated by any subsequent administration. Because it has become, COCOBOD has become a cash cow for many of the politicians. And that is why you have people always giving out contracts for the supply of juice sacks, even though they have it in excess.
It's amazing, eh?
Yes.
You have 150K uncleared.
Uncleared.
60.
Because look,
80K
I am telling you.
80K more with irrevocable letters of credit.
And
that's the point I'm making.
It's 600K USD for a
yes,
bill.
Yes. And you go and buy lands worth $12 million.
Sack.
No, there's a land that they bought for $12 million. $12 million. $12 million.
That is okay.
No, I'm just trying to, it's quite frightening, how we manage state institutions.
You see, I'm not to interrupt, forgive me.
No,
my pain and my worry in all this is that poor farmer.
Yeah, but that's where I was coming to. The farmer who lives in Fanchinebra.
If you go to some, I've gone to some of these farms before.
Yes, and so that is why they are selling out their farmlands for illegal mining. Because over the I remember when I was growing up, cocoa farmers were the richest too. In Achimas, for instance, they were very rich people. Very, very rich. You get the point? Yeah. So yes, the price has been reduced, but it has been reduced because of a multiplicity of factors. And I just want to make, plead with government, and I know that, steps have been taken, but I think that whatever the future, holds for COCOBOD, that future must be so bright that the farmer who cultivates and grows, cocoa will be confident that their struggles in ensuring that Ghana is always respected, in the international trade of cocoa. It's not shortchanged in the final analysis. Yeah.
Thank you. We'll be taking a quick break before I do. Bank of Africa says that if you have plans for this month, the month of chocolate, the month of love, whether the plan includes relaxing, having a relaxing staycation, a romantic dinner, or taking off experiences from your bucket list, the Visa credit card is your perfect payment option. The Bank of Africa Visa credit card is your perfect payment option. Whether you want to do shopping, reservations, your getaways, Visa credit card offers convenience, offers flexible payment, and enhanced security with direct debit. Should you forget to repay, choose affordability, choose comfort. You can sign up for a Visa credit card with Bank of Africa today. Visit any of their branches, or you can contact them on 0302-429-333, or go to their website www.boaganainfo.com and chat with Fafa. Terms and conditions apply. Bank of Africa, strong as a group, as close as a partner. When we come back, we'll talk briefly on the reforms and then move in to our corruption index as a country. Right back after this break.
For decades, we have helped businesses connect with their trade partners all over the globe. To Burkina Faso, Côte d'Ivoire, Benin, Togo, Senegal, China, Morocco, France, Netherlands, and many other countries. We have made it possible to bring Ghana to the world. We have brought small and medium businesses closer to their customers across the regions in Ghana with our SME support facilities. We have brought relief and smiles to the faces of families with our employee personal loans. With our cutting-edge technology and digital support, we take the burden of complex thinking off you, making life simple. That is who we are, as close as a partner. Bank of Africa, we are indeed the African bank with the global reach.
Well, welcome back. I'll read some comments quickly, then we'll go into the reforms are a lot. We cannot spend, I mean, if we're even given the whole day to discuss the reforms, so we'll just do a bit of a summary, the key ones, and later we'll be discussing them also into details in other episodes. Well, I have a message. I'll read a few. Some of the viewers are sending voice notes. We beg. We won't be able to listen to voice notes, so please send a text. Else, when we close, we'll listen to the voice note and we'll respond to you. But on set, if you want it to be read, please type and send the text. So this texter is Emmanuel Simpini Mensa. He says that, my brother, the solution to this problem is for politicians to start fixing the people's problems, such as unemployment. I think he's speaking to my reflection, health delivery and its affordability. Housing and education were being faced systematically since 1993. This phenomenon of looking up to politicians and they intend looking down on these masses and buying votes. Okay, so I think the main point is making that if you solve the people's problem, if you solve their issues, their employment issues, they will not be looking up to politicians for you to be dishing out money to them during delegate system. So I don't know how this sits in fully, because some of the delegates are professionals. They are working, but they still want that money. But that is well noted. This is also from Isaac in Nkoko. He says that, thank you for your insightful information. This should be a program on its own. I mean, he's still talking about the reflection. My name is Bless Kofi Agama. I'm a young cocoa farmer in the Volta region. The year 2022, the cocoa board issue farmers cocoa card, which is still not in use. The card is just there. Can he talk about the card, what it's meant for, and when is it going to be active? Okay, so we would ask Fifi BOAFO when we get him what the intention was for issuing the cards. I don't know. Are you aware of some card that was given? Okay, so probably maybe you check. They said 2022, and he sent me a picture of the card. I'll forward it to you so you can look into it. This person says, good morning, my name is Aziz Ansa. I enjoyed your show. I'm a farmer. I have 10 bags of cocoa. Because of what government is doing, I keep it. I like Fifi BOAFO. He's a genuine man, and tell him we want him as Takwa and so I'm going to say, okay, now you are doing okay. Yeah, I mean, if you start going this line, you are giving some indication where you are skewed towards. If you have 10 bags and you keep it, nothing comes out of the 10 bag. So basically, please, I think you should look at it properly. If indeed you are a cocoa farmer, you have 10 bags, keeping it would not make anything, the situation better. This is also from Alfred. He says, good morning. Did you all know that cocoa beans for last 8 years did not hit 1.3 million metric tons as claimed? It was artificially created. Okay, I don't know about this one, but Alfred, thank you very much. I'll come back later and read the comments. Bani, on the reforms, the long-term sustainability plan, the progress, just not details, but the key ones, so we can.
So, having cleared this whole voodoo about the fact that the current administration is the cause of our current difficulties, what is the way forward? And for me, that is where we all should be looking at. And I'm very grateful to the present administration, especially President Mahama, for his forward-looking agenda of processing, value addition to all our minerals. You know, I just read that he has declared that by 2030 there should be no raw minerals that are exported out of Ghana because of the value addition and the jobs it will seek to create. And so that was the premise under which the current government decided that it will hold an emergency cabinet session and come out with a clear blueprint for what the future of Ghana's cocoa industry should be. And significantly, is a conversion of our debt. So 3.7 billion cedis of our debt is to be converted into non-marketable cocoa bills, into a loan. And the Bank of Ghana will be giving us a 10-year loan of 1.37 billion. That is definitely going to strengthen our books. The new cocoa board bill, I was instrumental in dealing with.
Don't be
that.
charitable with it.
Oh,
Say it the way. You're the key proponent and key drafter.
No. My boss gave me a mandate, and I'm happy that we fulfilled that mandate. It gives me great joy that bill, number one, is going to make it a criminal offense for management of COCOBOD to delve into non-core business of COCOBOD. So now, beyond just the fact that it's in the law, it is a criminal offense to go out of that. So you cannot be awarding cocoa road contracts and those things, which are non-core business to COCOBOD.
I agree.
The next point also in that bill is the issue of the price formula. It's going to be independent. You understand? It's going to be a clearly independent way of dealing with cocoa pricing, which will move away from our old. Then the new.
Can you explain the third leg again?
O to BOG.
Yeah, O to B. So we are the 1.38 billion amount that, you know, they will give us bridging facilities and other things.
Yeah.
This is debt that is going to be converted.
Okay.
It's going to be converted into
a 10-year loan. Okay.
Yes.
All right. Okay.
You understand?
I get your point.
Then The issue of value addition is also in the bill. The protection of cocoa as a crop. So there are strict laws and punishments for illegal mining activities near cocoa lands, destroying of cocoa, what do you call it? Cocoa beans, among others. So this is a very, and then the issue of the value addition for 50% of our what do you call it? Cocoa to be processed locally. You understand? And then PBC. PBC is
the local production also brings CPC up.
PBC and CPC,
CPC
are going to be beneficiaries of this new government initiative. So PBC, which is supposed to be the biggest produce buying company, is now going to take its proper position. And then cocoa processing.
Yes,
you understand?
The value addition.
The value addition. So the 360 approach is very key to reviving Ghana's cocoa industry. And I pray that over the next 10 years, by God's grace, we'll see Ghana taking its correct position with respect to the cocoa industry. This is a crisis, but it's also an opportunity. And we are grateful for the leadership of government in ensuring that we take our proper place. And I think that under the leadership of Dr. Randy Abbey, COCOBOD will see its better days yet. We've been through a dark period, but I believe that given the opportunity, and once this is a temporary setback, once government has announced that we are going to get liquidity to pay off this, I'm sure that within this week you will hear of the relief out there. And then moving forward, the industry would begin to see proper structures being put in place per this new policy. So we are grateful to government, and I pray that keep praying for the present administration that we succeed. If cocoa succeeds, Ghana succeeds.
Right.
You know, and these days we are seen as the second child, but we used to be the first child of Ghana when it came to our foreign exchange and everything. So the good old days will come back.
But before I go to Kwame, and before probably we conclude on this cocoa issue, you know the current approach being used by Gov't.
Yeah.
They are technically using the off-taker approach.
Yes.
Where the gold is there, whoever wants to buy, bring the money, they give to the whatever it is that they call them, the buyers or whatever it is. Then the aggregators go buy, bring it back to Gov't for inspection before it goes to it. That similar approach, would it still not work? Because that was basically has semblance to the off-taker approach that was being used previously.
You see, the indication we get from government is for us to raise our syndication locally.
Okay.
You understand? And I believe that the Minister of Finance is going to come out with the new policy when it comes to how we are going to fund. There's a new funding formula that is going to be used. But I think that with the improvements in the economy, the ministry believes that we can raise our own, and it doesn't make us vulnerable. Look at what has happened. That simply because it is the buyers that are dictating how much to pay, what to pay, they literally can tell you that today they are not paying, and then we have a crisis.
But I think that what he's saying is that you need to have a system where it is not the buyers who determine the price.
Precisely.
So hold on. So what he's saying is that have a cocoa board that supervises, for instance, the purchase of cocoa. So off-takers will express an intention to buy. Then the money should be paid to cocoa board's account.
So
then they will do the disbursement to the PBCs.
The formula is being developed by the Ministry of Finance. We can't go ahead of ourselves. They are the policy. Let them come out with it. But I can assure you that they are going to come out with a policy that will be in the best interest of Ghana and the cocoa farmer.
Right.
Because we need a change from what is our present is not sustainable. And we are facing a crisis now because buyers automatically have decided to move to other countries which they find to be cheaper. And that is where we are. Even if we had a syndicated, at least would have been safer. But that one too was destroyed by our predecessors.
Kwame, yes, on the reforms, the way forward, and then the direction. What's your take on the reforms?
Well, so I think that is a step in the right direction. As we indicated, usually when we are faced with issues, we are so interested in always regurgitating and reiterating the issues without necessarily coming out with solutions or decisions that will help address those issues that we've raised. So I'm happy that in as much as we are bringing the issues to the fore, we have also decided to put some reforms together which, in the estimation of government, will help address the issues, that we are talking about. So yes, it's progressive. One of the things that I find very troubling with all the governments we've had is that it would appear that they always do have nice policy prescriptions. They always do have, on paper, things that would appear to be very progressive. But in implementing same, sometimes it's usually a problem, or that they cannot sustain it, And so if they can implement it successfully and be able to sustain it for the betterment of, the Ghanaian, by extension, the cocoa farmers, then, of course, all of us would be happy. Then at least we have a roadmap, then at least people would not just win political power and then use that political power to come and take advantage of the vulnerable in society. So I wish that we would have also broader stakeholder conversations on these matters, because I always do say this, that you'll be surprised, how people can actually now, people can offer pragmatic solutions to the problems, without necessarily being part of the government. So oftentimes I feel that we need to have broader stakeholder engagement. We need to have, an apolitical approach, an all-inclusive approach, in carving out practicable, achievable reforms that would inure to the benefit of all of us.
Right. Okay. Thank you very much, Kwame. We'll take a quick break. When we come back, we'll discuss the issue of corruption. Ghana still hovering around 43% and still being 76th in a world of about 172 or so. So we'll look into it. What really is the issue? Why are we not being able to fight corruption with everything that is going on? Right back after this break.
For decades, we have helped businesses connect with their trade partners all over the globe. From Ghana to Burkina Faso, Côte d'Ivoire, Benin, Togo, Senegal, China, Morocco, France, Netherlands, and many other countries. We have made it possible to bring Ghana to the world. We have brought small and medium businesses closer to their customers across the regions in Ghana with our SME support facilities. We have brought relief and smiles to the faces of families with our employee personal loans. With our cutting-edge technology and digital support, we take the burden of complex thinking off you, making life simple. That is who we are, as close as a partner. Bank of Africa, we are indeed the African Bank, the global.
Well, welcome back to Current Agenda. We've done what we think is justice to the cocoa issue. Cocoa is an everyday topic. So I don't think in just one Saturday we would be fully done. It would keep coming. Issues will come, good issues will come, troubling issues will come, and we'll keep digesting and discussing them. We believe also that in your homes, wherever you're listening to us, you would also contribute in the discussions going forward. We would move into the corruption rating for Ghana. We have been told that Ghana ranked, I think, is it 42nd or 43rd? 43 out of 100. And then in the order of countries, we think 72nd, if I'm correct. And the worrying part is that we have been on this 43, in fact 43 over 100, let me call it like that, for a very long time. We've been putting in effort. We have had Office of of the Special Prosecutor. We have had this, that, reforms, everything. But still, it looks like 43 is our Jesse number that we wear every time we talk about corruption. What really is the issue? What really is the challenge? We will share on our screen some infographics we've been able to put together from the whole exercise to give viewers an idea of what it is that this 43 really means. But what really accounted for this score? It says that even though in 2025 we saw efforts to increase transparency in corruption investigation and prosecution by the state, including the Office of the Special Prosecutor, the dismissal of the former Chief Justice, and various petitions for the removal of heads of various independent institutions, it still smacks of politicization of the judiciary and law enforcement and undue influence by the executive. Also, the discontinuation of corruption cases involving members of the ruling government through a 60-40 settlement raised eyebrows among Ghanaians and dampened expectations raised by publication of Operation Recover or Loot. And so what it's basically saying is that you can see a graph showing how our performance on the CPI, the index, has been. From 2014, we were at 48 over 100. We came down in 2017 to 40, started rising to 43. 2024, we came back to 42, and then now we've gone back to the 43. So fair to say, Ghana has never crossed, in the last 10 to 11 years, we've never crossed the 50 over 100 mark. So when it comes to corruption, we are, and this is a perception index. What it means is that the impression out there, what people think of us when it comes to corruption, we've not crossed 50. And it's worrying. It's worrying for me for two main reasons. One, every time there is an election, one of the key things politicians campaign on is calling the previous one corrupt. And they will list a lot of corrupt things that they believe they have done, only to come into administration, and within 4 to 8 years, nothing happens. What do? They go chasing after very little and for want of a better term, insignificant people and jail them. And the real people that were accused or were being mentioned are walking around. Then the next one comes to campaign on it. We heard about oral. We had all the things that were said, amount of money that would be recovered. We have entered into another year, almost started the second year of the 4-year term of the president. What has happened? We are even struggling to even get the former finance minister to come back into the country. We are fighting over documentation and procedural issues in prosecution in court. And this is getting the people angry. It's getting the youth angry. And so when we talk about corruption, this is what it is that we are talking about. And KWAME is going to help me go into this. That why are we not being able to solve it? Is it the case that we just muddy people out there and say they are corrupt, but really when we go into it, realize that there's no corruption? Or really there's corruption, but the people being asked to fight the corruption themselves are corrupt, so they can't unveil or bring out their friends. What really is the problem? KWAME?
Right. So I think you know, I like how you have introduced this particular topic, and I love the perspective that you've put on it, so that at the end of the day, all of us will apprise ourselves with what goes into the perception of corruption, and how come that, you know, we have not crossed the 50%. Like, I think it's instructive to let viewers know that the rankings are done from 0 to 100. So 0 is highly corrupt, 100 is clean, extremely clean. So when you looked at the graph that you showed, you can see that around 2014 we were around 48%.
Yes.
You know what it means is that we were inching closer to 50% of, you know, being less corrupt.
Yeah.
Then it dropped to 47, dropped to 43, dropped to 40. That is around between 2016 and 2017. You know, it dropped to about 5% between from 2014 to 2017.
Yes.
You're looking at about 5% drop. And
2014 to 2017, that's 8%.
8%, sorry, 8% drop. Then you are looking
and it's fair
at...
to say that's Atamils
yes,
to ADDO.
Yes.
Okay.
So 2014, 2016. So yeah, so around the JDM's time.
JDM's time will be in 2016 when he took, I think JDM did almost 6 months.
No.
Okay, no, he did 12 months.
Exactly,
and then so this is JDM's time.
This is JDM's time.
Yeah, right.
So then it dropped to 40% in 2017. So when ADDO took over, then it started climbing to 41, 41, 43, 43, 43. And then dropped in 2024 to 42, and now it has come back to 43. One thing is very telling, you know, we are talking about perception, how people perceive public institutions, you know, and their conduct. That if you picked, for instance, the judiciary, how would people see the judiciary? How would they perceive the judiciary in terms of its functions and operations? How would people, for instance, perceive the various ministries and agencies, you know, in terms of how it conducts itself, in terms of how those people who have been asked to manage those institutions are conducting themselves, in terms of awarding of contracts, whether due process has been followed, and all of that. They are very, very important, yeah. But also what is instructive is how state institutions or how government in itself allows for state institutions to operate without interferences.
Right.
And here, they cite, you know, some reasons for, if you like, just the 1 percentage point increase in the perception of corruption. You know, that we are less corrupt, you know, by just 1%, which is in 2025, you know, coming 2026. Now, there are multiplicity of factors. So they cite the Chief Justice's removal and several others, you know, and they talk about the extreme politicization in that. But you see, once it's perception, even the devil does not know the intention of man. People would only perceive. People can just, you know, do a bird's eye, have a bird's eye view, or be objective. They will stand behind the wall and try to look within and see what is happening. So it can only be a perception. As to whether or not that perception translates into reality is a matter for all of us to interrogate. Now, there can't also be any smoke without fire. What it means is that there will be some pockets of corruption or corruption-related matters which may, you know, find expression in some of these state institutions, and that is what will account for the percentage increment or decrease. Now, and I'm surprised that I'm seeing these figures, because if you look at from 2022 coming down to 2024, how, you know, there were a lot of perceptions relative to, yet you are looking at the numbers hovering around 43%. That's quite strange. You know, that if you look at the multiplicity and the complicity of government in relation to corruption and corruption-related matters, it is quite interesting that you are looking at 43%. You know, because I'll give you a litany of corruption and corruption-related matters. How the judiciary was seen between 2022 and 2024.
The famous unanimous.
The famous unanimous FC. Is telling of the perceived corruption, in the judiciary. And that is what, in the estimation of many, led to the petition to President for the removal of the Chief Justice, because they thought that the Chief Justice was doing the bidding of the MPP as opposed to the bidding of Ghana. So I am surprised that we are seeing these numbers. Number two, we are also looking at a situation where right from COVID-19, which led us into 2020, you saw a lot of procurement irregularities which plagued most of the state institutions. You are looking at Sputnik V procurement and the corruption perception, that in the estimation of people characterize the procurement of Sputnik V. You do recall a lot of things happened, in relation to or relative to COVID-19, where people were giving monies to cook, and feed people, and then you saw what happened. You understand? You are looking at the 13th All-African Games.
Your baby.
My baby. All $13 million or so, or 1 point something million, I've forgotten the exact figures, was used for the purposes of cooking. All right? And refurbishment, all those things were corruption and corruption-related matters. The perception was there. So it is quite surprising that I'm really scandalized that I have seen, these figures.
Despite all those things that happened,
all those things,
the figure is just like 2025 that we thought things are better.
And it beggars belief, because if you look at when John Dramani Mahama took over, I can tell you, of course, maybe issues have not really come out, but you have the majority of Ghanaians not even having corruption as one of the reasons or as one of the topical issues that they may raise in any conversation, or that they will raise in any conversation. Corruption has never been part of our narrative from 2024 till date. If corruption has ever been mentioned, then it's in relation to the fact that this government abhors corruption. That this government is saying that once I've given you an opportunity to serve the people in a public capacity, you do not have any right whatsoever to go and be corrupt. And has even warned that the first person who will bring, who will taint his administration will be dealt with severely.
But it will be fair.
There's this administration that they have issued what we call the Code of Conduct.
Yes. But Kwame, it will be
a
fair
Code of Conduct that, is instructive. That if you are appointed or if you're an appointee of this administration, you are supposed to act within the confines of this Code of Conduct. I have never heard of it.
Right.
What
I wanted to indicate as you speak is, you actually well situated the definition of corruption in not only issues that has to do with finances, but even misuse of position. So maybe this score is not really about the financial misappropriation, but it's about, because they gave the reasons. How the whole talk about let's scrap the OSP office. The whole talk of let's get rid. So maybe those are the ones that are informing it.
But it will be but with the greatest of respect that I can gather. It will be problematic if we did that. If we saw the calls by many, to, if you like, remove the OSP as the basis for corruption, then it's quite unfortunate. That the calls by many, in fact, the petition forwarded to the president for the removal of the Chief Justice, if that is the basis for scoring, Ghana just 1 percentage point increase, then that's a problem. Because all of those things were done within the periphery of law. That the Constitution grants us as citizens of this country, in the estimation, grants us the opportunity to petition the president in the event that we are not pleased with the performance or otherwise of somebody who is occupying a public office. We have the right. The Constitution is for us. We, the people of Ghana, gave birth to the 1992 Constitution. The president derives his authority from the Constitution, which authority was given to the Constitution by the people of this country. So the president, in receiving the petition, forwarding same to the Council of State, you know, and them, what's it called, establishing the prima facie evidence, which led to the removal, you know, of the, you know, they did so with the backing of all Ghanaians, because it is the Constitution that gave them the right to do that. Are we therefore saying that glaringly, if it is axiomatic that somebody who has been given an opportunity to serve the good people of this country is misconducting himself or herself, that because of that, we should not trigger a constitutional provision for the removal of that person, because corruption perception index would say that because of a disagreement by some group of people, you know, that will amount to corruption, and therefore we shouldn't exercise that, then it's quite unfortunate. You know what I mean? So that should not at all, in my respectful opinion, should not be the basis for giving us these low marks. What must characterize, you know, the corruption perception index, you know, should be within the first year, the conduct of government itself, you know, the conduct of government machinery, the conduct of government, and so that you're looking at the tree, you're looking at the executive, you're looking at the judiciary, and you look like legislature. Since this 9th Parliament, what has been the conduct of the Speaker of Parliament? What has been the conduct of the members of Parliament, which will amount to corruption or corruption-related activities? That is what we have to identify. If you look at the judiciary, with the current Chief Justice, you know, his Lordship, Justice Bafuboni, what has been his conduct? How is he ensuring that justice delivery becomes, you know, one that will not be bought?
Right.
That is what we have to look at. If you look at the current reforms that he's introducing into the jurisprudence of this country, you know, it is one that is forward-thinking, it is one that is forward-looking, it is one that is progressive, one that will ensure the sustainability and the survival of our young democracy. So what has been his attitude? Is it one that is retrogressive, or is it one that is derailing? Or is it one that is progressive and one that is forceful? That is what we have to be looking at. Right. And I know that you know that the conduct of the current Chief Justice is telling of somebody who is committed to the ideals and principles of rule of law. Right. And is ensuring that justice delivery will not be bought on the altar of patriotism, for instance. On the altar of partisanship. But on the altar of patriotism. That is what is important. Because you see, there's this wise saying that justice is always rooted in confidence. And that confidence is lost when people leave courtrooms, given all the situations, think that this judge is biased.
You should use the right word they use instead of bias. Okay, it's national TV. We can.
Yes, you get the point. So if somebody leaves the courtroom thinking, no, this judge is biased,
confidence is lost.
Confidence is lost. So if you have a Chief Justice who is bringing back confidence into the judiciary, which confidence was lost by reason of the conduct, omissions, actions of a former Chief Justice that did not sit well with Ghanaians, how do you then describe that as, you know, a negative pointage for the
let's look at some of the recommendations made. Some sits with exactly what it is that you're saying. So the first recommendation says that we should strengthen our justice system, protect the independence, and welcome the Chief Justice's decision to fast track the creation of the anti-corruption courts, which will aid the expeditious adjudication of corruption-related cases. The point is that it's believed that corruption-related cases tends to delay or stay long, most often if it's politically tainted. So it goes into another administration only for them to come and say that, okay, we are no longer interested in the case, we want to discontinue the case. So that's the first recommendation. The second recommendation says that also it calls on Parliament to hasten the Community Tribunal Bill, which has been penned as one of the bills to receive attention of Parliament during the current sitting. And then the third one is also, it recommends the expeditious adoption of the National Ethics and Anti-Corruption Plan, the NECAP. Then a cultural orientation to pay attention to issues of ethics, such as the campaign by the IGP to promote personnel who demonstrated integrity in the line of duty. And then it is important to promote a friendly business environment. The Transparency International Ghana calls on all state regulatory agencies, like the Office of the Registrar of Companies, the GPHA, GRA, Ghana Standards Authority, Food and Drugs Authority, to promote ethical business standards and facilitate transparency and integrity in doing business in Ghana. So Kwame, so if you look at this, these recommendations, I mean, if you want to work backwards, it gives indications where the issues were raised. Probably when people are going to register businesses, the issues they face, which is a legacy problem. When people are going to FDA to go and get license to do what they are doing, going to Ghana Standards Authority, when they want to clear things at the port, how it's going, the police on the streets, how they react. So maybe these ones are giving the foundation of the 41. So maybe actually what it means is that the foundation is 42. What the current administration has done has been able to build it for the first year to 43, but still that foundation, that's what is happening at Standards Authority, happening at Foods and Drugs Board, what happening at the ports still remains.
Yeah, but it's going to remain. I mean, it's not something that will disappear overnight. Perennial issues require perennial, not perennial necessarily, but perennial issues require long-term solutions. So if you are saying that we have these issues and therefore you are recommending that these things are done, then with respect, I think that they are not even looking at the current administration and what it's trying to do. Because all this is about protect civic space, democracy and media freedom. Who has attacked the media?
Oh, we are being beaten. I mean, a couple of weeks ago, the
but
fire
see,
service tripped one
look,
of my colleagues.
Brilliant. But so you look at it, you look at it percentage-wise.
Yes.
Do you understand what I'm saying? Within the first year, how many media people have even...
So maybe that's why we've grown by one.
No, that's the point I'm making. No, but I'm saying that then you need to now deal with specific state institutions. So, for instance, if you are saying that the Ghana Fire Service incident that happened, that you, by reason of that, will say that this fire service institution is corrupt, then you can say that. Then you give reasons why I say the fire service institution is corrupt. Because I have not seen the breakdown. Because all of these things, what it does is that it said Ghana.
Yes.
It doesn't say institutions within Ghana.
Exactly.
So it boxes everything together.
The whole country.
And then, but what I'm saying is that one institution's action or omission should not be the basis for concluding that Ghana is not acting in ways that will give confidence to people that it is fighting corruption. Yes, there will be bad nuts here and there, but once you look at the general picture and the conduct of government in relation to dealing with those, those fundamental issues, it should inform your decision, because all of this they are talking about must strengthen awareness of designated non-financial business and professions of their anti-money laundering. I can tell you for a fact that if you look at, for instance, Gov't and how Gov't is being managed by, excellently by Sammy Jemfi, you will notice that the first reform that happened within that sector was that every off-taker who wanted to purchase gold from either a Gov't aggregator or a self-financing aggregator had to send monies through Govt's accounts, and then they will forward same to those people. Now, within that chain, there was serious anti-money laundering due diligence that was done by FIC, by Bank of Ghana, and by other financial institutions, in order that we will ensure that the money that is coming in is clean, that is not used to finance terrorism, and that it is here for the purposes of gold trading. So that institution has performed in a manner that should tell you that people are very intentional about dealing with anti-money. But you also mentioned one institution that affected someone.
It's because of the one that's gone to 43.
No, but that is what I'm saying. That if you say the mark is 100%, and you are supposed to give somebody you know, you were not able to get 100%, you got 90%, because the 10% is the fire service issue that happened. You are saying that the 90% is irrelevant?
No. So what I'm saying is that, for all we know, there were, let's say, 20 institutions previously,
yes,
which were doing this anti-money, were not pushing AML. And so for that reason, we were 42.
Yeah.
But because now one institution has come to show that it's fighting, that one still, that 20 is still persistent.
Do you know what I think? What I think is that this report is flowing from 2024. It's flowing from 2024. It's flowing from 2024. Because if they have to really take 2025 into account, or if they took 2025 into account, then I don't believe that this report will be what it is, because then it will not be a reflection of the performance of this government, you know, within the first. Because you see, if you read, it says that Transparency International Ghana retreats that the CPI serves as a warning signal, not a verdict. However, Ghana's performance reflects persistent weakness in enforcement, political accountability, and institutional effectiveness. Addressing this requires urgent action to strengthen the justice system. The justice system is being strengthened. The Attorney General is on record to have gone after people who are alleged to have been involved in corruption and corruption-related matters. But of course, Corruption Perception Index or Transparency International would notice that the mere fact that somebody is alleged to have committed an offense is not conclusive that the person has indeed committed an offense, unless that determination is made by a competent court of jurisdiction.
Thank you.
So everything suggests that this government is on course in ensuring that there's transparency, in ensuring that we have better judicial systems, in ensuring that the security agencies perform their functions for the benefit of the generality of the Ghanaian people, in ensuring that the Ghanaian people get what is deserving. Do you understand what I'm saying?
Yes.
So this should not be what it is. In any event, I think that what ought to be done is to rather pat the government on the back, to say that we have noticed, you know, some trends, which trends are, you know, different from that which we experienced, you know, in the erstwhile administration. And we want to encourage government to do more so that accountability will be brought to the doorsteps of the Ghanaian people.
Can we look at the recommendation number 6 again? Recommendation number 6, because that one takes me to my next topic. Reform political party financing regulations to ensure transparency and accountability in their fundraising and utilization. I'm saying this because it ties into my reflection this morning. If we can have the tape of Fifi Kwete and Baba Jamal, then I would come into KWAME to talk about this Ayawaso East, and by extension, this whole monetization of our political party activities prior to election. Again, because he has been a running mate before, so he will probably understand it better. So let's please have that audio by Fifi Kwete.
Short of the report was this, that inappropriate conduct was exhibited by virtually almost all the candidates, even though you cannot establish, because the candidates were clear that what they did was in light of motivating of a delegate. We believe that was inappropriate. So in the light of that, the committee's report was to the effect that ideally we should have an annulment of the problems. However, the committee also acknowledged that there are real obstacles that make it difficult for us to do that. One, the party's constitution does not have a provision for an annulment of election. Two, we are time-bound because we need to be presenting a candidate by tomorrow to the Electoral Commission. So given these difficulties, and also there are legal challenges.
Now, KWAME, what Fifi Kwete said, for me, is very troubling and worrying as a Ghanaian. To say that one of the reasons why you've seen an action which smacks of corruption, or in fact, wrongdoing, but because you are time-bound to submit a name, so let it go. So somebody that we are saying that, okay, this person, what he did is not right, but let it go. If he wins the election, he's going to parliament, going to make laws for us. For me, when I heard this, it tells me that even at the base of it, our morality as a people, we play with it.
Yeah. It's quite frustrating. I mean, listening and watching to this particular video, I must say that the person who chaired the committee investigating the matter is, I call him my bestie, you know, Honorable Inus Afuseni, the Honorable Inus Afuseni. Very, 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 he's a big brother to me. And so his intelligence cannot be put to question. He's a very intelligent man, extremely intelligent. And so what I do know is that his recommendations were put forward in the interest of their party. Now, I think that then we need to place what Honorable Fifi Kwete said into perspective, you know, that given the admissions made by Baba Jamal live on TV, you know, and also given the party's position, the party is not saying that they didn't find anything wrong with it. The party said that they found that, you know, action very inimical and, you know, very troubling. However, given the current situation, it will be impracticable to present another candidate, you know, and also that there is no provision in the Political Parties Act. There is no provision in the Representation of the People Amendment Law. There is nothing, even in the Constitution of the Republic of Ghana, that criticizes or condemns, if you like, you know, internal party politics per se, you know, or the conduct of internal party, internal elections. And so that is what has brought us to this point. I would want to then say that if we are not able to take immediate steps in introducing some of these things into our party's constitution, in the future, we may not be able to contain this. Why am I saying this? Look, KOJO, when people go and queue to vote, there are a number of things which, you know, would influence that decision to go and vote. That, number one, that this person will best represent us and will be our mouthpiece, furthering our aspirations in Parliament. That this person will do things which will bring development to our communities. And therefore, this is the person that we want to go and vote for. So, if people are given the opportunity to go and serve, and they don't use that opportunity to better the lives of the people who gave them the opportunity to go and serve, this is what we will see. That we live in a country where politics is practiced on the lines of clientelism. Politics is practiced on the lines of, you know, control, and on the lines of keeping people impoverished. Because, KOJO, imagine that all the people within those constituencies, they had something better going on for them, that they were so busy, you know, running their businesses, that they have so much in their pocket. Do you think that a mere 32-inch TV would convince them or would sway them into voting for somebody else? They would have voted their conscience. Yes. They would have voted for somebody that they believe would represent them. But we have practiced this politics of impoverishing the people so that you take advantage of them. That is why our young people today have not been given opportunities to elevate themselves from the shackles in which they find themselves. So that when it's election time, somebody will give them weed, somebody will give them alcohol, and they will give them 200 Ghana cedis, and they will tell them to go and fight so that they will go to Parliament. That is where we are. So they don't want to better the lives of the people, and that is why they always buy their votes so that they can go into office. I am saying that on the basis of this, that we need to be intentional, that we need to be very deliberate about building a democracy that goes beyond clientelism and patronization, and that will embrace the culture of representing genuinely the people who queued to give you a mandate to serve them.
Thank you. Thank you very much, Kwame. And one of these days, I'll be speaking on this the universal adult suffrage. It's one of the topics one day I'll do as my reflection, because I believe it's one of the things that has gotten us where we are. If, like Kwame said, people who are willing to accept just weed to vote, and I have the same vote value on deciding who leads the country. We'll talk about that. Thank you very much for your time. Thank you for listening in and for staying with us. We really appreciate your comments and your contributions. Unfortunately, we couldn't read all your messages. Forgive us. Next week, we'll try as much as possible to do better. Enjoy the rest of your weekend. Have a wonderful day, and happy Valentine's Day, happy Chocolate Day to every one of you. From myself, my panel, my crew, thank you to Kwame, thank you to Nipakpo, thank you to Fifi who joined, thank you to my production team. Happy Valentine's Day, happy Cocoa Day. Enjoy the rest of your day. Bye-bye.
Was brought to you by Bank of Africa, the African bank with global reach. Bank of Africa, as strong as a group, as close as a partner. And National Petroleum Authority, NPA, where customer care meets excellence.
Of His Excellency President Mahama, who said that Africa must pull itself by its own bootstraps. In a passionate address, he declared that the continent had lost its sovereignty and was caught in a dependency trap. This was both true in areas of aid spending as well as security